Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone is well. Hope everyone is good. Welcome along to the first one of these. As I mentioned, following on from the call on Tuesday and some feedback in Discord, we're just going to try and do a little bit more charting throughout the day. So I appreciate probably not many of you are on it now, and you're going to be looking live. So we're not going to get into like 5-minute time frames. Don't worry, you'll still find what we're going to talk about now relevant if you get around to it tonight, tomorrow, whatever it may be. It is the first time. I'm trying to keep this between 15 and 20 minutes. So let's just hope it goes that way. Without further ado, let's crack on. So I'm not waffling too much. Bitcoin on the daily time frame at the moment. I've actually cleared up the chart at the moment because what we can kind of see, and we talked about it on Tuesday, beginning of the week or back in the last week, over the weekend, however you want to look at it, we lost that 100K level. But actually, since then with Bitcoin, we've had a very good move up. We've gone from 98,000 all the way up to almost 109,000. We've left ourselves with quite a strong move. Yes, last couple of days we've slightly pulled back from that one, but after a strong move, we are expecting periods of consolidation. The reason I've kind of kept this chart clean for the moment and staying on the daily, however, is I just want to sort of, draw our attention to something that I think is, a thing. Now, granted, I could have made this tidier and cleaner. I completely accept that one. And, I actually originally drew it on the 4-hour time frame. But what we can actually see, over the last 6-7 weeks is that Bitcoin has been forming in this descending channel. Now, ultimately, that should be a good thing. And we would like to see a strong move from this, whether you want to call it a bull flag formation or, just whether it's a descending channel and those normally break out to the top side. We'll leave it for you to decide. But what I do suggest that we perhaps just go in with a little bit of caution. We've had that strong move. Only 5 days ago, we hit the lower end of this channel. And yet within 5 days, we've actually climbed, 10, 15%, and probably about 11 actually, to get to the top of the channel. But we have hit that top of the channel and we've rejected from it. It doesn't mean that we're going to go through, but in terms of just big picture looking at this, if we're looking to sort of place a long or even I suppose a short, we want to just think about, well, what is there that could be interrupting our thought process on that one? So, I would be happy, just clean chart like this, just clean channel, to make a decisive move once I know we've got north of that channel, but we've also closed above it. That's the key thing. Failing that, then we could see that move back down. And we've got to remember we're entering into that summer period and we may well see a move back down. Now, if it's to follow a similar sort of pattern where we're kind of looking between 95 and 94,000, we'll have to just wait and see how that one plays out. But we've talked in other calls about that 94 level being quite an attractive level with vectors and Fibonacci retracements, etc. So let's not be too nervous if that's the position that we end up heading down towards. Let me just turn everything back on and we'll get rid of the drawings and then we will go and have a little bit more of a discussion about it. So now when we've got, something's not loading right there, but it doesn't matter. We'll work it out in the next one. There we go. We've got the candle colors correct. So now we can kind of see what we had. We talked about some of the daily. We did go down to the bottom of the 50 EMA cloud. We've moved above that. What are we happy with what we're seeing at the moment? Well, we not only have had that strong move up there, we're above the 50 EMA, we're above the 10 and the 20. We do have that vector zone below us. And I can't remember when it was. We had this vector candle zone in around 106 to 107, which we've eaten through. So there's still an attractive move north, around about 110,000. But we've got to accept that there is down to another 100K level from that strong move. We have this as a potential area of of direction, I suppose, or an area where we might look to get it. And that combined with the 50 EMA on the daily, I think to me makes a compelling argument. At the moment, currently sitting just under 104,000. So not necessarily a big move down from where we find ourselves. We go down the lower time frames, and we actually see that now we're getting onto those lower time frames. Things are actually looking, I think, a little bit better. Yes, we still have those vector zones between 104 and 101,000, but we've still got the 50 EMA above those, and we've actually now got the 200 EMA, which we can introduce into that as well. So I think there's plenty of opportunity there for a move down. 4 out of the 50 EMA is never necessarily going to be a bad thing, especially after such a strong move up. And then we can sort of bounce from that. Okay, we may wick down within it, but the 50 and the 200, they generally work out quite well for us in that time frame. Okay, what else can we have a look at? I've said okay about 4 times now. If we have a look at just the fib level, it kind of does suggest that that 236 level, 105, 800 may be that place, tying in with the 50 EMA, or we're getting down to sort of like 104,000 with the 382, maybe as low as 103, 500 ish for the 0.5, and it is kind of boxing off that vector zone there. So again, wicks could end up down that way. Now, should we start losing those ones? That's when we then go back to that original channel, which suggests that actually the move is probably going to continue down. And we're really looking at, one, lower levels on the fibs, obviously, but actually that bottom level on that channel that we drew. Down on the hourly time frame, we're just starting to lose. Let me get rid of the fib because I think it's going to be a bit confusing, although it still works. You know, when I was looking at the charts this morning, we were holding that 50 EMA, but actually what we're doing at the moment was we're losing that 50 EMA. Now we've got about 7 or 8 minutes left on this candle here. It's currently pink, so we're going to know we're going to leave that vector. And again, I stressed this on Tuesday and I stressed it the week before, but when we get down on these lower time frames, the vectors really do get recovered. So that's not necessarily anything to worry about. Look, you know, even this pink vector candle here, recovered by this wick. So we can start to see the blue one's been recovered by this wick down here. The red one's been almost fully recovered 8 o'clock this morning, and we've got a little smidge of it left. So, hey, we could still see that move there. But the fact that we've actually now lost a 10, lost a 20, and lost a 50 on this EMA, we might start to see that move back down. We also have to bear in mind that the traditional markets are going to open soon. And when we get down on those lower timeframes, they really do play a key in terms of how the market is going to move. The US session opens in approximately an hour's time. So yeah, take that one as you will. But what I would say with this is if we continue to lose that, then again, now we're looking at sort of the 200 and the 800 EMAs. And what we can see with the 800 EMA, which is about 104, 500, which again, we talked about in the 4 hour, it actually then also starts to tie in with this sort of price action down the corner, which my head might be in the way of, so I'll just move that there. Afternoon, Erjan, hope you're well. So that's certainly something to consider. And it's almost at the, you can't see it because it's very faint, but this little dotted line here, that's the 50% retracement of any vector zone. So the fact that they're tying in, then again, it adds weight to potentially a good turnaround point, certainly one to consider. So I think we'll leave Bitcoin there. Plenty to chew upon. Big picture stuff, we've got to remind ourselves we're still at 107,000 or just under now, 106,800. So not a bad place to be given this time last week we were heading down below 100,000. So I think actually that's not true. It was 104. It was Saturday. So tomorrow would be the week anniversary of that. Moving on to Ethereum, let's start on the daily. And I think, you know, there were concerns for me over the weekend that Ethereum had done a nice little bullish rectangle, but actually then started to break down. Now, the worry was, in my mind at least, that we were going to form that Bart Simpson and we were going to see that move all the way back down to about 18.5. And just taking out this vector candle. We started that move down over the weekend, but actually when the markets reopened, what we did see is that we saw Ethereum do something and move back up. Where do we sit now on the daily? It's actually, it's kind of a bit of an interesting picture. In the stuff that I like to look at anyway, we've got plenty of vector zones below us, which pause for concern. We may have to consider where that's going to take us. But we're sitting right on just everything. We've got the 50 EMA we're on right now, that's the light blue line. We've got the 10 EMA, which we've just sort of hitting up against right now, which is the darker blue line. Matter of fact, the two of them are very close. We've got the 20 and the 200 on top of each other, which is what we've wicked up to today. And then we've got the 800, which is still inside the 50 EMA cloud. Basically, within the space of $70, we have, you know, 4, 5 EMAs. So, and that's on the daily. So this is just a tough spot to get through. Yep, we've found the strength to move back into that zone. And we are now back in that bullish channel. You know, the rough drawing of it here, we'll sort of, you know, say there and down there, wouldn't we? I'd probably move this down slightly. We're just about holding on to within it. We've dipped up, we've dipped below, fair enough, but as a sort of mean average of where we are, we've worked within this channel. But we are on the bottom edge of that channel. And I think if Bitcoin continues to make the move down, we know altcoins are going to do it. Unfortunately, with Ethereum and how poorly it's kind of performed over the last, this cycle really compared to some others, it may well lose some of its momentum. Let's have a look. Let's clear those lines and then let's have a look where things go when we get down through the time frame. So we go on the 4 hour. And again, yes. So we've got a little bit of a cleaner picture of what's happening here. So now we can draw that sort of mean line. The bottom line was kind of here, and the top line, I suppose, was in around here. And now what we're actually finding is same kind of thing in terms of EMAs. All the EMAs are just on top of each other, although we are holding above them with the exception of the 200 EMA. So there's something to be said about that. Battling the 50 EMA as we speak, though. But what you can see is that with that move up, we failed to get back into that zone, that area of consolidation, which we were able to hold for the last 2 months or so. And actually we're butting up against it. And now you kind of ask yourself, and sorry if this gets a bit messy, but is this just a bit of a dead cat bounce? Are we going to see that rejection there? And suddenly, this 50 EMA, along with the 20 and the 800, sort of between, well, effectively 2,400 and 2,430, that sort of $30 zone, that's carrying a lot of weight at the moment. It needs to provide a lot of support for where price action is going. Yes, we've dipped down to it. We've always seen a strong bounce with these wicks going back up. But if we lose that, then it's vectors all the way. Now, go on, let's throw a fib in and just have a look at what it's done. Might be messy, this. Tell you what, let's just hide some of these for now, just so we can just see what the fib does. But if we go top to bottom, and look at it, there we go. Like top to bottom, fib's working out really well. I mean, that fib works because look at this, nice little action in between the fib lines here, bouncing in and around it. It's come back down. But look where we are now. We're battling the 382 and the 500. Now, the next battle is the 382 at 2,415. We have held it over the last 2 days. We lose it, though, we're starting to have those conversations. 2,300, and dare I say it, actually getting back down to 2,200 where this thing all started. So that's certainly areas I'd be looking at. I do see that some of these vector zones still here. So there's definitely a possibility for that move up. And if we can break the 0.5 level, we've got a nice bit of liquidity that we can try and eat towards. But then we've got the mother of them all, the 618, potentially holding us off there. So, something to consider. Let's throw those back on. I won't go down onto the hourly. I'm already 12 minutes in. Someone asked for Casper. So let's just have a look at Casper again on the daily here. Now, for me, Casper is going to be synonymous with how a lot of altcoins are. We're not looking great. I accept that we have seen a bounce, and here we've had a very similar thing where we had that sort of double bottom fall and we had that move all the way back up. But since then, it's been rejected, and we've pretty much retraced back to the lows of where we were in March and April. So we are seeing that bounce back through on the daily, but look what's ahead of us. Everything except for the 10 EMA is above us in terms of price action. And we have those vector zones so clean behind us from what came about on Monday, beginning of this week. So it kind of feels very much like this move may have actually already exhausted itself, and we may continue the move back down. If we throw the fib on here on the daily, and again, the move, not as clean as how Ethereum looked, I accept. But in terms of points of rejection on the 382, and again, we're battling the 236 right now. So that 7 cents, 7.1, 7.2 cents level, a real key player, but we lose it. And you've really got to ask yourself, what's holding us up from taking the rest of that vector candle? And I don't think there's anything where you can suggest it is. Now, okay, that's the negative side of it. What's it need to do to maybe get a little bit higher? It's got work to do, but it's not impossible. The reality of it is, though, we need to consolidate here to sort of just build some of that strength and then get those strong moves. The 20, I don't think is too much of an issue. It's going to be the 50 and the 800, which are on top of each other, which are also battling effectively the 0.5 fib level. And by the time we get to the 0.618 fib level, it's going to be the 200 EMA. And you got to think we need that strong a move to get all the way back up to $13 and create a new local high. Plenty of work that sadly needs to be carried out there. And I think that's just kind of synonymous with altcoins. I mean, I will come back to the other altcoins, but look at this chart. This is total 2 versus BTC. And let's just put it on the weekly for to start off with. I mean, this is 2023, basically the start of the bull season. And we've just seen nothing from alts, which is why we've seen Bitcoin dominance climb. That's why we've seen, the occasional alt do well, but generally alts have just bled out this cycle. And so far, it's been a very Bitcoin-centric cycle. And right now, we're at, lows we've not seen since 2021 in terms of, Bitcoin versus altcoins. And where we do see these moves, we look at sort of the Trump pump after the election win. Great move, but look at it, straight smashing into the 50 EMA. We saw sort of, what was it last year? It's like March last year or something. And down, even this sort of, it was, I don't mean the figure's 0.85, but from down where we were up to the 20 EMA, that was a good move in terms of like meme coins pumping very strongly. We've seen a similar move at the beginning of 2020 when the ETFs launched. But generally, it's been a downward move, which is why alts are kind of feeling the same pain right now, unfortunately. There are some that have done well. I still stand by Solana, $8 when we started off. I mean, it's 141 now, which is half of what it was back after the Trump pump. But it has managed to hold itself. We'll go into... just want to finish here. I appreciate this big picture charting, and it's probably something more for a Tuesday night. But let's just hide these again. It's definitely going to be a 20-minute one. We just have a look on the levels that we probably think, we need to consider. You've got to suggest this one. I appreciate it's wicked below a couple of times. We've had plenty of candles in and around this level here. That's a 0.4. We've still got some way to go until we may get a turnaround there. Another level, if we're being generous, maybe kind of at the level that we're at right now. We've got some price action here. So, maybe we see a bit of a move back around. But I dare say that even if we do, that's not the right one. How I'd be looking at it is enjoy my alt portfolio going green until we get here. And if we get a rejection from that 50 EMA as that's tracking down, then we need to make a big decision about what we want to do to maximize our portfolios through this. Remember, we're still thinking that 4-year cycle. We've got sort of 6 months left. And most of the times in the past, 2017, 2021, alts had already turned around by now. Alts turned around here, December 20, and then we put in our high in October, November 21. So that was a year's worth. Similarly, down here, we've had, December 16, we saw that move for altcoins. Remember, if this goes up, it means that alts are doing better than Bitcoin. So that's over, just about a year, because it was again December 17. So, we're maybe 6 months late to this move, or we should have seen something happen. Now, it doesn't mean it won't happen, but we've got that to consider. Anyway, back to actual charting. So I get carried away. Solana. I'm just trying to open everything back up. There we go. It's looking a little bit better. Now on the daily, there's not really much vectors to really retake. We had that steady move back down. Sorry, it was a relatively steady move down given the vector counts. I know the price fell hard, but there's a lot of grays and whites in here, which shows that the volume was normal. Mainly, I imagine, because they're just being used for meme coins. And that means we haven't really got that as guidance going through. We've got a tiny little bit here, and okay, it's not far to go. It's only $9. It's what 5% or so, 7% of a move back down. But we've got this 800 EMA, which, okay, we've lost it in the past, but generally whenever we lose it, we recover it relatively well. So we can, argue that actually maybe Solana's in a better position than others for a turnaround from that move. I'm not sure how this is going to work, but let's just go big to small initially. Okay, yeah. So what I've done there is I've gone from basically the inauguration down to the April low, and we've come back up. And what we saw was the move went up to the 618, back to the 5, back to the 618, forming that M formation double top. And then we start to see it slowly take each of these back down. And the turnaround at the 236, $131 back to 150 is the battle that we're going on at the moment. What I would say is if we lose at 131, then I think 106 back and be testing down here. It should actually just be ever so slightly lower, would be a more logical thing. If we can find that bounce from this, get above 150, we can start talking about 160. Sadly, 160, we're going to talk about 185. And then getting above 185, we can actually start to see a really good move. Without that, vector candles holding us back, and of course, we may see some vectors as we move up here into clear air. 786 not always the strongest level, so 215 and beyond, but we're some way off. We're nearly 50% down from where we were at the inauguration, which not the best place for us to be in. I'll do Tau last. People have asked for Sui, similar to Casper in many ways. Casper looking like this, similar I suppose to Link, similar I suppose to Near, similar I suppose to Sol. But Sui, and I'll take this one down on a bit of a lower time frame. Let's just have that look. Sorry, I'm trying to clean this up. Now, we didn't fall. So, with other altcoins, including, I suppose, Bitcoin, we saw the move probably go a little bit further than on other altcoins than it has on Sui, showing a little bit of strength. But all it's doing right now is, you see, we had that strong move out on Monday, and then since then we're just eating into this vector recovery. And even if we get back up, we haven't been able to beat that 10. So $2.75 is something that I would be a very local kind of resistance level that we need to move through. We drop it down on, say, the 4 hour. And again, you can kind of see that the downtrend, it just looks like a prominent downtrend. It's higher highs and higher lows. Sorry, lower highs and lower lows below all of the EMAs. And the EMAs are kind of fanning out in the order we don't want it to be, with the lowest first and the highest value at the highest point. So we got to battle that 50 EMA, which again is around about that 2.7 level from the other EMAs we were talking about. And then actually, once we can clear that, we have some nice EMAs to attack in and around these EMAs. So we've got the vector zones in and around the EMAs, and we know they kind of act as magnets. But don't get your hopes up too far, because, for the last couple of occasions, bar beginning of June, so we're going all the way back to 22nd of May here, we've made it to the 50 EMA, but we've not really been able to clear it. And even if we did, we've only cleared the cloud. So if you are looking at positions for Sui, I'd be looking at how it's reacting off that 50 EMA. History has said that it's probably going to move down, but you can never trust that. You wait for the confirmation and then you make your decision on the shorts or the longs. But even with Sui, even if you got the long, you'd be looking at maybe sort of right in around $3. So a potential, 10-12% move with leverage, you could probably do all right from that. And similarly, that breakdown, even if you're doing down to this level here, it's probably another similar size move from what to have a look at. All right, let's have a look at Tau. And I'll have a drink as well. Now, the pattern that Tau's forming, it's similar to what I did with Bitcoin, I suppose, in terms of, and this is not going to be neatly drawn, it's just more to draw your eyes to it. But there's a channel top there, and then there's sort of a channel down here. However, Bitcoin's at the top of that channel, while BitTensor is fighting the lower ends of this channel. And as I say, I'm using a different chart here, so I'm using a KuCoin chart. So we don't have that 800-day EMA on this at the moment, but I can assure you that price is below that. So, when we look on the day that we're in that descending channel, with the lower edges of that descending channel, we've got a bit of a vector zone down here, which I think is probably primed for being taken, even if it's just going to ride this channel edge down. And we've got not just the EMAs, but the EMAs are fanning out. That wasn't a gangster sign. That was me trying to indicate they're fanning out. Anyway, poorly done. So, not looking particularly great. The move that we made so I talked about on Tuesday, I didn't like the speed at which that move happened. So although I got in late and then I decided I was going to sell, and exactly what I thought was going to happen, we've just bled back down, and we're taking all of this vector candle with us, presenting me, I suppose, with another opportunity to get back in, or for those of you that didn't get back in but already out the market, maybe another bite of it. What I would like to see from the daily, if try and turn this around bullish, is this to kind of bottom in and around this level. So maybe about 310, and then we form that double bottom with the right hand side of the W formation being ever so slightly higher, and when we start to make that move up. Now, obviously, we talked EMAs are in the way, but we've also got this channel which is going to be in the way, and we've actually got to get through that channel and still climb, another 10% before we can even consider that we're starting reversing the trend. And that's how far down we are within this. Oops, why is that not deleting? Don't know. There we go. I'll tell you what, let's just get rid of all of that, because we're going to go on to the lower time frames from that. But yeah, if we can, maybe just clear this vector out with a wick, the body closes up, we can maybe have some sort of double body. And, look, it'll be better on the 4 hour, but M formation, then we've had one move down, recover, one move down. So, well, that should be the first, sorry, I've done that badly. That's the first move down with the recovery. That's the second move down with the recovery. This is the third move down. So we've got maybe that 1, 2, 3 that we look for, and now we're just looking for the W formation. Maybe we can start to see that move going that way. As I say, probably look better on the 4 hour. Oops. Now again, even with the 4 hour, that move that we had up, we've taken those vectors down. They were blue, not green, and we're starting to feel out. But actually, maybe there's a little bit of hope in what we're starting to see is that it's starting to curl off a little bit. Maybe we're starting to see some sort of base form. So perhaps not being too greedy and trying to hold on to it falling another $2, and you're getting a fraction of a tau. Maybe start thinking about moving into it. Now I'm going to wait. Two reasons why. We're just below the daily open on the 4 hour. We have sort of been following this blue 10 EMA line, which we're rejecting from it. And if I was to play this, and I need to, because I need to get back in, I'm looking to see how it does against the 10 and the 20. They're too close to each other to decide to get in one and then get out $2 later when it gets to the other. Have a look at how those two are interacting. I do like that we've got some vector candles to recover at the 50 EMA, so it gives us some encouragement to head back up there. And even if we came down here first, give us that encouragement and that move to get through it. And we are, like I said, we're starting to just sort of find some sort of bottom. If we can just, even if we can just over the weekend, just kind of hold that level and build the base. And then we can sort of, hopefully try and get some momentum that way. But unfortunately, what I would say, and I have to just say what I see, is it just feels like we just get failed rally after failed rally. And typically the rally fails lower than the predecessor. So, that's something that we've got to bear in mind. In terms, I don't want to scare everyone, but in terms of when we get below that on the 4 hour, we're talking some really low levels there. But let's just take, we'll try and do a few fibs. Maybe it'll give us something. So even if we did this one down to here, kind of see if it rejects at the 0.5, we've lost up 382 and we're below the 236 at the moment. If we went, you know what, let's not do that move. Let's see about how we could retrace from this move up. And that's where we turned around. You could argue, well, actually, here's the bullish side of it, Harry, because we're on the 618. And that's the golden ratio that you always look for. We're bottoming on that, we'll go at 618. I was saying that it's kind of forming a little curve there. Maybe we are starting to see it. Now, the 0.5 is on the 10 EMA, which is why we're seeing that rejection. So again, starting to make a little bit more sense there. And we have had a move up to the 20 EMA, which was rejected, which is also the 382 on the fib level. So there's a few things that kind of tie in as to why we might get around there. But I think we've just got to make that move. Obviously, we've got to make the move to prove that we can go north. But you know what I mean? The crunch line right now is going to be how well this line here at 315 is defended, and whether or not, I'd even argue maybe now we need to move to 330. Problem by that is you need to wait for confirmation. And when you got the confirmation and you're comfortable, you're like, well, the 50 EMA is only $4 away from it. This is why it's difficult to sidestep. You can't always be greedy. Just accept that you made a move and don't panic the first time you see it go against what you think that's going to be. Anyway, right, Erjan's put, do you think OTCDs on Tau removing all the buy pressure that's left in retail? Says, yeah, I know Simon's talked about a lot of institutions being involved in BitTensor and not declaring it at the moment, and then probably one of the ways why they don't have to declare it is just by doing it OTC, so it's not actually on a blockchain for some sleuth to find out about. That is buying up some Tau, but you got to remember they're buying. It's almost private to private, really, isn't it? Does it eat up? Yeah, and I suppose for me, I'm more thinking, where's the retail? Are retail really here? I don't think they are. Real retail are your hairdressers that have never heard about it, or your taxi driver, or someone who tells you about it. You think, wow, in the year I've been coming to you, you've never mentioned it. Now suddenly you're interested. That to me is the retail. We are retail because we haven't got the deep pockets for institutions, but we're hardened retail that, we're hobbyists at the same time. So we like cryptocurrency, we like Bitcoin, and we're happy to ride the highs and the lows. We need the people that are going to come in thinking they're going to get the highs, and then they get their absolute knees taken out, sadly, but that's how markets work. They're the real retail, in my opinion, on that one. So, yeah, potentially. Right, it's already been 30 minutes. Never a good start. Someone asked me about Coinbase. Let's just go on the weekly here. So one thing about Coinbase is, what I would say is it is all-time high. I understand that when it first launched in May, its IPO was higher, but it immediately lost that, within the day. So this is, as long as this candle can close in 6 hours time, this will be its all-time high. And it has left a wake of vectors here. And the way it got here, let's assume it just shuts in 6 hours time at 375. 2 weeks ago, it was 250. So the speed at which that has moved up does suggest to me that we will see some sort of pullback. Now, we've seen most of these other strong rallies have those pullbacks. We are away from the 10, the 20, and the 50 EMA on the weekly. It's not kind of that heard of. So I would expect us at some stage to come back on. And it doesn't mean it's going to happen next week, because we can see previously that once the vectors dry up, it still takes a while for it to roll over. But roll over it does. And so, you give it a couple of weeks and we may be back at like 290 before it comes back down. But I dare say that actually what will happen is we will look to attack these vector zones. Certainly the ones over the last 2 weeks down to 250. And I dare say actually we might get a wick down or something like that down to 215. So I think that's something to definitely consider. We're only just starting to print at 200 EMA, but we're forming a good base and potentially a double bottom. But we expect moves up, and then we expect that to go. So yeah, I think that's where I would be looking. Circle had a good pullback yesterday or this week, but let's go on the daily, shall we? It's still fairly new. I'm not in on this yet. I still think this IPO hype has driven it, and we may start to see a bit more selling, profit taking, whatever. So I'm going to watch and wait on that one. MicroStrategy, I don't know why. I think it must be because of the indicators I have on. But you see on the right hand side, for those aren't familiar, it's got this little orange dot. Well, that should be telling me what the pre-market is, and it should display it on the chart, but it doesn't. If I go onto another chart, like say I go onto this one randomly, we scroll down, you kind of see Coinbase pre-market, it's down $4. Circle's pre-market is up $10. MicroStrategies is pretty much where the market closed yesterday. Nvidia, which has just printed a new all-time high, I believe, that's looking to only mark up by $1. These are just ones that I hold in my pension more than anything else. And yeah, so I don't know why it doesn't print on there, but it doesn't. But MicroStrategy, even on this one, move up, fine, pull back down to the 50 EMA. We kind of expect that to happen all the time. Potential double bottom from it. Hopefully that move up for any of you that are holding MicroStrategy. And I just go back to Bitcoin. Of all of the ones we've talked about, Bitcoin still feels as it has that strength. And I'll always say that, particularly when Bitcoin dominance is, 66%. Looking strong, really is looking strong. from that move. So that's why I hark on about Bitcoin and its strength. Anyway, that was 15 minutes longer than what I wanted. I actually would appreciate a little bit of feedback. Just put it in Discord in terms of, do you want it on lower time frames? Do you want me to drop ones that you're not interested in, add some more? If I can try and time it down to 20 minutes, that would be perfect. And we'll try and work it from there. But just be cautious with it. Also, the other thing is, do you want a bit more of where could it be going? Or I don't really want to give advice on longs and shorts, because I kind of just give analysis that sort of suggests both ways. So it feels like I'm just playing a politician. And I don't like the responsibility of that. But in terms of, how we can perhaps clean up this new format that we're going to try and introduce, I'd appreciate any comments you may have. I'll leave it at that. What I would say is enjoy your weekend. It is a weekend. We see weekend traps all the time, so just bear that one in mind. Bitcoin, let's just leave with one final bit of wisdom then. If Bitcoin moves up, alts may move up. If Bitcoin drops, I'm telling you, alts are going to fall. So just be cautious with that one. But if it is another drop this weekend, CME gaps love to be filled, so bear that one in mind. One last request. Give us one more EMA gangster. Yeah, that one there. There you go, Pete. I hope you enjoyed that one. Enjoy your weekend, everybody, and I will speak to you all soon. Cheers now.